Okay, so we're in the middle of chapter 22, discussing the trait of Anova, of humility. So last time we discussed, again, the basic of whether humility is a perspective. Well, there's definitely a perspective, but it's a reality, or it's a, or it's a twist on reality, so to speak, or skewed, which one is more skewed, right? And so we saw the story of the Chofetz Chaim, right? That he said that, I didn't do anything for you, Hashem. You helped me publish all these Sfarim, and I didn't do anything back for you. Let me do something for you, right? So, so obviously the Ikar point is that everything that Hashem does for us, everything that we do at the core comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Meaning Hashem gave us the ability to accomplish it. So the more that we accomplish, the more that means that Hashem bestowed us this ability, and therefore the more gratitude we have to have, and the more kind of silly we have to feel because we were given so much chesed, even though undeservingly. But there's also a point, I think, is that, again, in terms of perspective, kids, for example, kids will, whatever, they'll throw the ball, right? And they'll reach the hoop. They won't get into the hoop, right? They'll try to throw it into but they'll get it close, and they'll feel so good because, like, wow, look, ma, look, pa, I almost got it in, and they feel like, wow, what an accomplishment, right? And in reality, and we say, wow, great job, amazing, I'm so proud of you. But in reality, it's pathetic. It's like nothing. It's like nothing, right? So in the big scheme of things, if you think about it, the greatest accomplishment of the greatest human being is pretty much in that ballpark. We feel like we've progressed, but in reality, we're like total nothings, right? In a certain sense, with the advent of AI, we could kind of feel that because if this kind of super intelligence does ever get created, it's gonna wipe the floor with any human intelligence, because human intelligence, as amazing as it is, it's still very, very, very primitive. There's so much that we simply cannot comprehend, cannot comprehend, right? So I think that's what he's saying. He's saying basically your greatest accomplishments are no different than this kid who thinks, like, okay, wow, he's such a big shot because he almost made it into the hoop. You know what I mean? Like, so that's I think that's the perspective. So again, if you think about it that way, when you internalize that perspective, then you realize that maybe the humble perspective, so to speak, is really the closer to reality than the wow, look how much I accomplished, right? Okay, fine. So that's that. Fine. Okay, so now we keep going. It says v'hinei dibarnu ad heina me'an v'samachshava. So until now, we're talking about the internal anova, the anova of machshava, right? The perspective, the outlook of being humble. What does it mean to feel humble? Unedaber ato me'an v'samaisa. And now we shall speak about the humility as it results in action, right? Okay, so before we continue, again, let's think about what kind of humility, in what way does humility result in action, right? In what way does humility result in action? So you assume, you sit someone on the back, right? You don't, what is it? What other elements of humility of action can we be discussing, Не идти вперед батьки в пекло, не быть выскочкой, let's say. I don't know, what other examples can we think about? Right? So, again, this is the, what's the word? The mastery of Ramchal is the ability to scan kind of the Google the world of Anova, and break it down into categories, right? So he says, and he says, I'll break it down for you into four aspects. Okay? So the first one I think we could have guessed, Bihisnahik Atzmai B'Shiflus. Right? So the first one is, acting with lowliness, right? Again, acting with humility. And that's the one that we figured out on our own, and that's a category. Okay, but then he continues, Bisvoil ha'elboines. It also, number two, is it emanates in in having tolerance for insults. Okay, so that's the second way it manifests, tolerance for insults. Number three is Bisnoi harabonus u'berech min hakoved. That's one. That's two. And that's one. Is despising leadership positions. Right, rabonus would be like leadership positions, authority. Positions of authority, and berech min hakoved, and running away from honor. And finally, the fourth way is b'chaloik koved lakol. Is conferring honor upon all people, right? Giving honor to everybody, right? So those are the four ways. Those are the four ways that it manifests. Okay, so again, what are the four ways? The four ways is acting with humility, tolerance for insults, escaping honor, but on the other hand, escaping honor yourself, but giving honor to everybody. Okay, again, so let's delve deep into this. Again, he's going to break it down, but I have some questions. Okay, so let's see. Ha'echad, so let's go to the first one. B'yisnahag b'shiflus, is practicing with shiflus, acting with shiflus, with lowliness. He says that also breaks down further in b'diburoi, in speech, b'halichosoi, in walking, b'shivtoi, in sitting, ubechol tnuoisov, and also in every movement. So it's really, what's the word? So it seems to be like it's in speech and it's in body, right? I mean, really all actions are in body, but there's this additional aspect in speech. Okay, so let's see. So let's continue. B'diburos. Now he's going to drill down further, right? So what does it mean to be humble b'diburo in speech? Omer zechronim l'rocha. So again, he quotes Chazal. L'oilam yeh diburoi shel odom benachas im abriyas. So the Chazal tell us that a person should always speak with others benachas, with softness, right? With creations, right? The person should speak with everybody with a softness, right? So that according to Ramchal is a what's the word? Is a manifestation, is an expression of humility. Okay, that's a manifestation of humility if you're speaking softly, right? You don't, I guess, without imposition, without demands, right? Umikra molehu, and it's really a pasuk in Kahelas. Divrei chacham benachas nishmam. The words of sages are heard when they're spoken softly. Tzorich shiyu dvorov divrei kovod. Furthermore, that's one aspect. One aspect is softness. Another aspect is that the words should be divrei kovod, should be respectful. Divrei kovod, words of honor, words of respect. Divrei bezoin, and not words of embarrassment. And similarly, it says boz lire'ehu chasar leiv. A chasar leiv, which means like a foolish person, is boz lire'ehu. He embarrasses his friend. Right, so not putting others down. Putting others down, obviously, why do people put others down? To put themselves up, right? So that's also an aspect of humility. If you are humble, you don't want to use anybody to express your, what's the word, your gaiva at the expense of somebody else. Okay. Also it says, when Rasha arrives, so does booze, degradation. Okay? Good. So that's in terms of speech. A speech has two aspects. Is softly and respectfully. Softly and respectfully. Softly and respectfully. Softly and respectfully. Okay. So, I mean, again, I want to preface this now. I don't know if I have good answers at this point, but right, if you remember from the very beginning of Anova, he told us this big idea that it's terrible to be a fake, a faker when it comes to humility, right? So you first have to be an onav in heart, then it carry out through manifestation. And then again, we saw that you could use it the other way around.
Right,
If as long as you know that where you're holding, right, and you're not being a faker, you're just actually trying to, then it's okay to go from the outside in, right? Just the general procession is from inside out, but if you understand that you're just acquiring a nova, it's okay to go from outside in. Fine. But now, I mean, okay, but what's so terrible if a guy speaks softly and respectfully, right? What's so terrible about that?
I mean, we just said it's great. There's nothing terrible about it.
Right, but he says that's only great, again, if it's an expression of your humility. I'm not humble. I'm not allowed to talk softly.
Okay.
Right? So, I mean, again, so the answer is simple. As long as you're aware that you're not humble and you're just talking softly because you want to talk softly, that's okay. The danger is of, I want to show everybody how humble I am. That's why I'm going to talk softly, right? That's the danger, right? But otherwise, sure, speak softly, no problem. As long as you're aware that it's not an expression of your deep humility. This person in particular that he's talking about here, he's talking softly because it's an expression of his deep humility. Okay, moving on. So that's speech. What about the way a person walks? So there's the sages said, Ezehu ben Olam haba. Who is a person that is worthy of the world to come? And vosan ushval berach, somebody who's humble and of low knee, shval berach, low knee. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but so again, I don't know. The article says it just means walking humbly. Fine. Shayef ayel, shayef nafek. So he enters when he's bent and he leaves when he's bent, right? So in other words, some kind of a posture that's of humility. And that seems to be saying the same point. And should not be walking what's called kuma zakufa, with an erect posture, right? Again, I'm assuming right now that the erect posture means, not like just, but more like, I guess, whatever that means, but I'm picturing it. Fine. So right. So that's bekumas kufa. So a certain v'loy bekveidus, and not with heaviness. Godel, meaning not with great heaviness. Okay, betzad gudel, where he walks, that his heel is right next to his small steps. So that's that he mentioned that in Gaiva, that type of walking of very small steps is also an expression of over dramatic aristocracy or nobility or something along those lines. I'm too important to walk fast, right? So that's also not good. Rather, you walk normally, like a person who goes to take care of business, right? Walk, just walk, just walk. Also, our sages said that anybody who walks in this very super erect posture, as if he's pushing the feet of the Shechina, right? Because this is the earth is considered like the footstool of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, symbolically. So if you're walking like this, it's like you're pushing the Raglei HaShechina. Uksiv, and also it's written v'romei hakoymo giduim, those that are of very lofty posture, geduim will be cut down. Okay, so that's as far as walking. So okay, so right, okay, so you have to. So again, it's the same idea. If you are an onav, then you have to walk like an onav. If you are not an onav, again, you can still walk like an onav as long as you know that you're trying to acquire to become an onav, right? Okay. Now the only thing is, anova is such a great level, right? It's an incredible level. But over here it says that somebody who walks with the kuma zakufa is pushing Raglei Shechina, so it sounds like it's a terrible thing. That's gaiva. That's not just I'm walking right? It's not just an expression of my anova, it's an expression of my gaiva, correct?
Mm-hmm.
It's an expression of my gaiva, so it's much more basic than this. It's not that's not a special level of, that's for everybody, right? That's not a it sounds like it's an everybody thing. So I'm not sure why meaning so I'm assuming for now is that his focus is on the first part of the Chazal, that you can't walk b'kumas, that you have to walk ushval berach, shayef oil, shayef nofek, that you walk down bent. That's the expression of anova. The opposite, which is an expression of gaiva, that's for everybody. That's universal. You shouldn't be walking around like this, even if you're not an anova. That doesn't mean right? That's in itself is a problem, because that's already a gaiva. Okay, fine. Okay, b'shivtoi, now sitting. How does an onav sit? He finds a place among the lowly ones. V'loy ben aromim, and not amongst the elevated ones. Right? Again, this is kind of potentially a problem. Meaning, we often do this. We have it. Please go sit in the front. That's okay. It's okay. I'm good. I'll be right here. I'm fine. Thank you. So again, you would say, what's the big deal, right? What's the problem? But you're trying to let everybody know that I'm a humble person. I don't need to sit in the front. I could sit in the back. But are you really a humble person, or you're just trying to, so to speak, express a certain image, right? Right? And humility, again, the point here, humility cannot be an image. It has to be a thing, right? On the other hand, let's keep going with the Chazal. Listen what it says. So the Gam Kain Mikramola, again, it's also a pasuk. Al tishadar lifnei melech, do not beautify yourself before a king. Ubimkoim gedolim al tamoid, and before great ones don't stand. Okay, and the pasuk continues over here. They bring over here, and for it is better. Pasuk continues, says, for it is better that you should be told, come up here, than that you be demoted. Right? Right? So he says, don't stand amongst the Gedolim, because it's better that they tell you to go, come, your place is the Gedolim, than you stay with the Gedolim and they tell you, I'm sorry, you don't belong here. Right? So the pasuk seemingly is giving you not advice on how to be humble. The pasuk is telling you advice on just practical matters. It's just, listen, you're going to stand up by the Gedolim and they're going to tell you, listen, I'm sorry, this is an exclusive club and you don't belong here, and you're going to feel like a loser. On the other hand, if you do belong there, so they'll call you in, and then you'll feel good. So that's the pasuk is saying the opposite of humility, so to speak. The pasuk is giving you practical insights on how to act, right? Meaning, right? Again, let me just see one. It continues. Our sages also said, you should distance yourself from your place, 2 or 3 places, v'shev, and sit there, until they tell you go up. But don't go up, that they should tell you to go down. Right? So again, this doesn't fit, doesn't seem to fit. Doesn't seem to fit for me. Because anova is not supposed to be, what's the word? Anova is supposed to be, again, it's an expression. It has nothing to do with it. They will tell me to go up or they won't tell me to go up. They'll tell me to go down. They won't tell me to go down. I have to do what is the reality, right? Anova is the reality. So why should I go below my place? If we are learning Anova as the ultimate Yashrus, as the ultimate truth, right? So why are you telling me go below my place? Let me sit at my place. My place is the place of humility, so that's my place. That's reality. There's nothing to do with what's happening here? Go to and I should go sit two places below my place, so they will tell me to come up. That's not humility. That's the opposite of humility. That's right. And furthermore, again, this is right. We saw like that story with the Rabbi. What's his name? Ben of course, Rabbi. No.
Well, I know
Right?
about it.
Where again, the one who we didn't fully understand his Hasidus.
Spoke first.
Yeah, the one that he was the one who protested again. Not Rabbi Yochanan ben Avkulas, Rav Hananya ben Avkulas, Rav Hananya ben Avkulas, whatever. Where he said, right, he was the one who said that that we cannot bring the korban of Cont of the Romans, right? Because they will say that the Bali Mum craven b'mizbeach, right? That the enemies with Balmum are brought in the mizbeach, and because of that, Rabbi Yochanan says, the humility of Rav Hanani, I think Ben Avkulas, destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. Right? Destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. So how could it be? So we said over there. I mean, we didn't say over there, but they say over there is because he spoke out of turn. Right, because in the Sanhedrin, when they made the decisions, the people who are on a lower level would talk first, and people on the higher level would talk last. Why? So that because if a person on the higher level talks first, then all the other people just parrot along. On the other hand, he wasn't aware of his stature. Because he wasn't aware of his stature, he spoke first. Right. And as a result, everybody else respected him, so everybody else followed along with what he said, right? So again, he brought that story not in Anova, he brought that story in Hasidus, and the problem over there, he says, was false of Hasidus. You could have said the problem over there is false Anova, right? Because part of Anova is maybe knowing your place.
Actually, there's one more point to it. When they were sitting in special order, what's like doing was sitting like in the order of the shoe was like important.
They were in a semicircle.
Yeah, but it's probably also was some kind of order. So maybe he was sitting like in a high order but walking first. I didn't see him like if he was such a respected probably to sit like in the end of the line. Like he probably was sitting like with the big shots. But he spoke first. Maybe that's what was a false Hasidus.
Again, it would also be a novice. What he's telling us here, though, is that if you are on a certain level, go down a few notches, right?
Okay.
So then Rav Hananya ben Avkulas was right. He spoke, he lowered it. It was an honor, and Zachariah. I'm sorry, Rav Zachariah ben Avkulas. Right, so he spoke out of turn. Here, because of his humility, Zachariah did not feel qualified to determine that Barkamtza posed a mortal danger to the Jewish nation. The sages, on the other hand, recognized Zachariah's greatness and would not override him. Right, so he spoke. So again, so I'm not clear as b'shivtoi, which is you're sitting. Why should your place be below your stature? What's wrong with you just being exactly where you are? Whatever your level is, and that's one problem. And second problem is it seems to be saying, let them tell you to come up.
Yeah. Maybe it's saying like whatever you think that your place is, sit below. Yeah, think we're supposed to be, but it's then come to that.
Meaning you're saying no matter how humble you are, you're always going to be overshooting by 2-3 places.
Yes, probably. Yeah, probably.
Right. That could be.
And then if you were right, they'll call you back. If you're not, okay, fine.
Right. Could be again, but then still the Zachariah ben Avkoila story still seems a little bit off then, because so he took a few steps down, and unless he took more than a few steps down, and that was the problem.
So why did you call him up?
What?
Why did you call him up?
Why they didn't call him out? That's a good question. Okay, weiter. Let's see. Now again, so we spoke about speech, walking, sitting, and then it says v'chol noise of in all movements. So now this is talking about more general. V'kol hamaktin atzmoi. Again, regarding with anyone who lowers himself. Omru zechreim levracha. Call mishum. Again, what is the word maktin? Just by definition, the word maktin means, right, making yourself katan, maktin, right? I'm making myself katan, right? So that means I am what I am, and I am maktin myself. I'm making myself lower than I really am, right? So by definition, this phrase is interesting. Somebody who lowers himself. Anybody who lowers himself with regards to words of Torah in this world, will become great in the next world. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that, let's say I don't understand something, and I see some Joe Schmo over there, loser, who maybe he knows. So I'm not embarrassed to say, let me go over and say, excuse me, Joe Schmo, can you help me out? I'm a big Rosh Hashiva, but I'm wondering what this word means. Right?
Okay.
So kol hamaktin atzmo al divrei Torah. Right? Again, is that humility? I'm not sure. It's just if you want to be a learned person, so sometimes you have to find it in uncomfortable places. Is that humility, or is that just? Again, I'm not sure if that's humility. Okay, kol shemishamaktin atzmo al divrei Torah ba'olam hazeh nasa godol olam habo. He will become great in olam habo. Keneged ze omru. Haser hamitznefes v'hareim ha'atorah. Remove the turban and lift off the crown. Right? What does that mean? So it's kol mishu godol b'olam hazeh, somebody who's great in this world. Koton b'olam habo. Umin ol hafach mishu koton b'olam hazeh, zman geduloso olam habo. Okay, again. A person should always learn from the mind of his creator. Right? Hakadosh Baruch Hu left behind all the mountains, whatever. And he rested his Shechina upon Har Sinai. And that is because of his lowliness.
His? Hear it? Show him says of its lowliness.
Right. It's lowliness. Right. Doesn't make sense. The shiful is a hard language for Hashem. It almost sounds like his. Okay. V'chein omer, and also our sages said, again, this is back when we were talking about last time from Tomer Dvara, right? These are the 13 midas harachamim as they appear in Yonah. L'sheris nachlasoi, no, Micha, sorry. L'sheris nachlasoi, l'mishim meisim atzma kishirayim, right? L'sheris nachlasoi, which literally translates to that Hashem should show kindness l'she'eris to the remnant of nachloso, of his inheritance, meaning the remnant of the nation that's left over. But the Gemara darshans l'mishim meisim atzma kishirayim. Somebody, Hashem should have rachamim on somebody who's meisim atzmoi, who makes himself into shirayim, into like leftovers, right? So, and I'm not sure what he wants from that, because mishmeisim atzma kishirayim, I would have said, fits in the first half of this chapter, which was about anova in thought. right? So you want to give me an example of somebody who's an Onava's thought as somebody who's Mesim Atzmek Shirayim, who looks at himself as Shirayim. Now we're talking about Anova in action. Anova in action, you sit in the back, you talk softly, you walk humbly, right? That's Anova in action. And now he's trying to explain to us all aspects of any emotion. Any emotion has to be with Anova, right? And then he brings us these examples of really Anova in thought. You want to be like Har Sinai. Har Sinai is low. That's Anova in outlook, not Anova in action. So I don't know where do we turn. Okay. So fine. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, Achelak Hasheni. So that's the first. That's the understandable expression of humility as in one's manner of carrying himself. Hachelak Hasheni, the second way, who's Svilas Halboinos, that is tolerance of embarrassment, of an insult. Our sages said explicitly, "Lemi noisei ova," and again this is from the same pasuk. For whom does HaKadosh Baruch Hu tolerate sin? Lemisha oiver al pesha. Somebody who transgresses, meaning not transgresses, but goes over, meaning ignores pesha. Somebody who sins against him. Right? Again, this is a pasuk. The pasuk says, right, noisei ovein ve'oiver al pesha. That it's talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem is noisei ovein. He is kind of tolerates ovain, sin, the overall pasha, and he ignores pasha, rebellion or negligence, however you want to translate that, right? The Gemara is darshaning that it's two, right? Because otherwise it's a double lotion of the same thing. Noise ovain, overall pasha, seems like it's the same thing. Now we're darshaning, no, lemi noise ovain, for whom does HaKadosh Baruch Hu tolerate sin? Somebody who's overall pasha. If the person is overall pasha, right? So that he ignores people that sin against him, and he doesn't take revenge or doesn't respond. And also they also said Hanei people who are insulted, ve'einam ovim, but they themselves do not insult back. Shoymim cherposom, they listen, they hear their embarrassment, ve'einam mashivim, and they do not answer. Aleim akosav oimer, regarding them, the pasuk says, ve'oihavov, those that love him, meaning love Hashem, kitzeis Hashemesh bigvurosoi, are like the sun as it leaves in its strength. So what happened here? Meaning, how do we see from the pasuk? The pasuk, right? The Chazal say that what? That if you hear being insulted and you don't respond, you're like the sun in its glory. How do we see that? Because the pasuk says, and those that love him, those that love Hashem, are like the sun in their glory. Where did that go? I mean, I understand that people that love Hashem are like the sun in their glory. Where do we see that those that are insulted and tolerated are like the sun? Right? So I'm not sure right now. Okay, let's look up the Gemara. I'm assuming it means something along the lines that if you right, why do people insult back? Because they have to stand up for themselves, right?
Who are you?
So if I'm humble, why am I humble? Because humility, again, seemingly in its essence, can only come as an expression of God's love. In the perspective of God and His infinity and my relationship with Him, I am nothing. So therefore, it's not that important to me to stand on my on my cover. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ramchal cites accounts. Okay. So now he's going to bring examples of these crazy stories of where the people that tolerated tzaddikim that tolerated great embarrassment, right? V'sipru megoydel an vosa shel Baba ben Buta, right? Here's the story of the humility of Baba ben Buta. Zelu Shaina. Hahu bar Bovel. There was a Babylonian, the Solik Eretz Yisrael, that went to Eretz Yisrael. Nosevit, so he married a woman. Omar Law, so he told her, B'shili li, cook for me, and he told her, cook for me something, lentils over there, the Gemara says. Right? And she, again, so he spoke Aramaic, she spoke Hebrew, so so the words, it was like a Amelia Bedelia story, kind of like, the words that he said, she did the wrong thing because she understood it in her language.
Mm-hmm.
So every time he would give her instructions to do something, she would do something wrong. So until she brought him, he says, bring me butzina, which again in his dialect means bring me some watermelons, but in her dialect it means candles, like lamps, like what are they called? Like clay lamps.
Mm-hmm.
So she brought him. So she says, "Bring me 2 melons." So she brought him 2 clay lamps. So she said, "Go break them a bubble. Go break them on the doorway, on the door, because Baba, right? Like Baba Basra, Baba Kama, Baba Metzia means the gate, right? The first gate, the second gate. So she said, "Go break." So he told her, "Go break it upon the door." And she decided, he must mean I have to break it over the head of Baba ben Buta, because his name was also Baba. I don't know how she made that connection, okay? But meaning she assumed, I guess, her husband, like that interpretation did not seem, she didn't question it.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't question that interpretation. Fine, so she went. So have Yosef Baba ben Buta. So Baba ben Buta was sitting, V'doin Dina, and it was in the middle of a court case. Ozlas, right? Perfect moment. Ozlas atavras Yisoin al Reisha. So she went and she broke those clay candles over his head. Okay. Omerla, he said to her, Mad hadein davad. What are you doing? Omerle, kach tzivani ba'ale. My husband told me to do so. Omer, I see some ba'ale. Oh wow, you did the will of your husband. Hashem should bless you with 2 sons like Baba ben Buta. Okay? So, again, I can't get into the whole story over here, okay? But the point is that Baba ben Buta did not feel the need to go and neither attack neither her, neither the husband, all right? Fine. Regarding Hillel, we also heard stories about his humility. A person should be humble like Hillel. Again, so there's a whole bunch of stories with Hillel, with the mikvah, where he didn't get angry, right? So Hillel, the Gemara over there says various incidents of his humility. Rabbi Avohu achari roivan anvosai motza shadayin lo yagia lo yisroi v'kori ona. And Rabbi Avohu, even after his great humility, he didn't feel like he also reached the true level of anova. Zelu shoynim Om Rabbi Avohu mireish haba amina anvasona ani. Ano, it used to think that I am humble. Given the chazina l'Rabbi Abba de Akko. The Omer Iu Chataima, the Omer Amore Chataima, V'loi Koped, Amein Lavan Vasana Ana. Right, so first Rabbi Abba says, I used to think that I'm humble, but then I saw Rabbi Abba from Akka, and over there he was giving a shir, and his Amore, right, so they used to have this person who would go ahead and say whatever you're saying louder. Mm-hmm. So he would say something, and his Amora, who was supposed to just parrot what he's saying, he would say his own thing and contradict him. And Rabbi Abba did not criticize him for it. So since he did not take offense, so that means that he is humble. Yeah, not very difficult for me to understand what's going on here.
Yeah.
Because again, if it's Torah,
Yeah.
who gives you the right to be humble on Torah's behavior?
Mm.
As a matter of fact, Gemara in Tanya says that any Talmid Chacham who doesn't, strike like a snake or whatever it is, respond like a snake, is not a Talmid Chacham. And again, you have no right to be humble on Torah's behalf. Okay, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. So the article explains over here that if the Amora would have said something wrong, then no question that he would have shut him down. It's only because the Amora said an explanation that was equally as good, or maybe even better. So he didn't.
Okay.
Okay.
So he was saying something and just didn't repeat word for word.
No, meaning let's say you're giving a class, you give a shot, and the Amora fixes it for you.
No, but it's more than shot.
Right, but again,
explanation like going to
But also, I mean, if let's say I'm giving a shot, and I say something wrong, and my Amora corrects me in the proper way. If anything, I should say is give me Yashar Koach and say, "Wow, thank you, you helped me out," right? If he's saying, if I'm said a good word and he said a good word, okay, so like, what's the big deal? So I'm not sure.
No, like I was saying, I was talking about, that bird that swims in the water, that great color bird. Like you're saying, a goose, a geese. Fine. So he didn't repeat exactly, but yeah, he just improved it. But bottom line, the same thing.
Right. So why is that?
So
it's a big deal, right?
yeah. So
It's not, either way.
but the job of the guy was repeat word for word, but he just a little bit. So it wasn't a galachic correction. So
Doesn't seem like a big expression of humility either. If the Abba should be like super amazed. Wow, I thought I was humble. Now, wow, that's something's still missing from this. Okay, let's keep going. How much have you to read? Any chance of us finishing this chapter? I don't know. No, definitely not. Okay, let's just start this. Okay, Sinas Rabbanus Ubrichas HaKoved. So the despising positions of authority and running away from honor. Mishnah Ruchahi. It's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. Ahavas Hamalacha. Love work. Osnois Rabbanus, and hate the leadership. Roles of positions of power. V'omrut oid Hagas Liboy B'Hayra. Somebody who is Hagas Liboy B'Hayra. Oof. So how do we translate Hagas Liboy B'Hayra? So Hagas Liboy means Gas means is a synonym for Gaiva. Right? Gas Ruach, the Gemara says the same thing as like lofty spirits, right? It's the same thing as Gaiva. Hagas Liboy sometimes also means somebody who's oversure of himself. Right, overconfidence. So Hagas Liboy B'Hayra is overconfidence when giving Hayra, which is halachic rulings. Right, so overconfidence in halachic rulings. That's how I would translate. Okay, one who is overly self-assured in dispensing halachic rulings. Okay, that's pretty good. What does your version say?
One whose heart swells when making halachic decisions.
So that's different.
yeah.
So that's different. So your translation is more like he gets, what's the word? He gets benefit from his halachic decisions. This one, the way I would translate is that he
Power tripping.
Power tripping. I would say this one is just he's too quick, too certain, right? Doesn't think it through. perhaps, because he thinks he's overconfident, right? So, okay, so if Hagas Liboy Bahayro, Shoita Rosh of Hagas Ruach. So such a person is Shoita, is crazy. Rosha, he's also wicked, and he's also a Baal Gaiva. What? Okay, so your translation flows better
with the second part, right?
with the way, because he's trying to prove to us that you have to escape from honor, right? So escaping from honor means not enjoying to be put in a position of honor, right? Because that's why you want to escape it, because I don't enjoy this. I don't want to take any, right? So now Hagas Liboy Bahirot, which is good. If your heart swells from your rulings, that means you still are enjoying honor. Look at this. I made such a great psak. I'm enjoying my honor, right? So that fits. No, you shouldn't enjoy honor. You should escape from honor. On the other hand, the way I translate it, which is somebody who's overconfident and making a decision, it's not because I'm enjoying my honor, just the opposite. I just think that I'm such a smart person. I don't need to second guess myself, right? So your translation fits better. And the article here actually it's interesting. In the translation, they translate one who is overly self-assured in dispensing halachic rulings, right? In the notes, they say this refers to one who is prideful of his authority to issue rulings, but does not take the responsibility seriously. So they're trying to get both of those aspects in. Okay. V'omru, and they also said v'omru kol haroidev achar hakovod, somebody who pursues kovod, hakovod bareich mimenu, kovod runs away from him. Again, what does he want with that? So maybe I should pursue kovod, because then it's going to run away from me. Then then it's better.
Works out.
It's better. I don't know. It's very strange. What do I need from that? I mean, I guess he's saying, but why are we saying that? Because we're saying that that's a mila. Meaning, we're saying that, listen, if eventually you'll get your COVID back, but that's not the point. The point is really you should be roidef min COVID. You should not be. Roidef achar COVID, right? Meaning, we're just telling you, you're not going to accomplish your goal anyways if you are roidef achar COVID. But that's not their point. Our point is really to tell you that it's not a good thing to be roidef achar.
Right, but the phrase sounds like you're just never going to get it. As much as you run after it, you're never going to achieve the goal that you're after.
Right. No, but you're right. We're telling you really you should never want COVID. But besides that, listen, even if you're going to pursue COVID, it's going to backfire. But that's besides that, right? Meaning we want in that instruction of that it's going to backfire on you. It's really included that first step already. That obviously we don't want you to pursue COVID in the first place, right? Okay. V'omru oid al teitze l'riv maher. Don't go out to a fight fast, right? And what does that mean? That means l'oilam al tehirotz achar ashrara. Right? Then we're understanding that you should not be running after positions of power. Hasrara, right? Lomo pen matase be'achrisa, because the pasuk we're dancing the second half of the pasuk. The pasuk says because of what's going to happen in the end. L'mocher, because tomorrow boyim they will come. V'shoyelim l'chosh elos, they will asking you questions. Ma'atom ashivim, what are you going to answer them? Right? Meaning you don't know what you're getting yourself into. When you put yourself into a position of power, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. Oichom Rabbi Menachma b'shem Rabbi Tanchum kol mekabel of sroro kedei lehanas men. Anybody who accepts position of power because of his own benefit, eina ela kanoyef hazeh, is just like an adulterer shehu nena megufa shel isha, who gets benefit from the body of a woman. Right? What does that mean?
mean, he enjoys what's forbidden.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure right now what it's saying. I'm not sure why specifically adultery. When you take on self-interested positions of power, why is that like adultery?
Because he kind of stealing. Hashem runs the world, not you run the world, right?
Right. So maybe maybe it's something along those lines. But specifically, okay, yeah, something, I guess so. I am called Kodesh. Right? Meaning Hashem says, I'm called a Kodesh. So unless you have the midas that I have, try to, don't accept positions of power. The students of Rabban Gamliel wanted to escape, right? They actually were humble, and they want to escape position of Srara. You think I'm giving you positions of power? I'm giving you positions of slavery, right? Okay, so I'm not sure. Okay, well, let's stop here because this is going to be a whole. This needs more attention. Yeah. Okay. So just summary. What did we discuss so far? We discussed acting in a way of humility, right? Speech and movement and position, and also tolerance of insults. Those are the two aspects of humility that we discussed.